folks, hello. A very good morning to you. Delighted to welcome you this morning from a beautiful, crisp, cold Dublin. Great to have so many people tuned in today, whether that's live here on Zoom, whether it's watching back the recording, whether it is listening into our podcast channel, or indeed our ever-growing YouTube channel. I hope everyone has had a nice Easter break, and I really hope people are very, very interested and invested and energized in terms of what the job market looks like and what it's going to look like this week and next week, particularly with organizations and people coming back from an extended break, certainly in this part of the country and of the world. Folks, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rob Magee. I'm the CEO at Ingenio. We have two businesses that are focused exclusively on helping people in and around the tech, SaaS, and software space. One is a recruiter, and the second is an e-learning business where we have built a platform course to help people like you get hired by those technology, SaaS, and software organizations. Really excited to be kicking off our April topic today. And we've had so much feedback over the last probably 6 or 8 weeks from people around. We've done some amazing work in terms of applications. The last March series was all around interview, the whole interview kind of prep piece. And what people have been asking over the last couple of weeks is, can we do a really deep dive session on CV? And that's what April is going to be all about. So today, what I want to really get you thinking about, and I know I kind of touched on this last week before the Easter break, but what I want to get you thinking about is, even before you actually start pulling the CV together, before you actually start writing it, what are the things that you need to be thinking about? So that's really important, and that's what we're going to be covering off today. Next week, the 4 key sections to a CV, the really important elements, mistakes to avoid, common mistakes to avoid. I'll do a whole section on that because I think that's where a lot of people really get stuck and have challenges and problems on. And then lastly, once you've got the finished product, who do we get it to, and who does it go to? And I think that's really important. Really important session all on its own. So what I want to get you thinking about, so if you think about, let's say, for example, you may, oh, by the way, you may already have your CV or resume done. And what I'd love you to think about is, if that's the case, what I'd love you to think about is, I'd love you to sit back and be really critical of it and look at it, look at the content, look at the achievements, look at the stats, the data, the information. And I really want you to try and think about, who have you written that CV or resume for, okay? And, there's 2 cohorts of people that this document is for. Well, the first, and I'm going to probably spend the most time talking about that this morning, the first and most important is you. But the second thing is that this CV is going to be, it's going to be received, reviewed, read, dissected. That could be a quick piece of work. It could be a very long, prolonged kind of review. And that's really important, right? So you need to be thinking about who is actually going to go and read and review this CV of yours. Is it a hiring manager specifically? Is it someone in HR? Is it a recruiter, be that an in-house individual or an external? And that's really important. And you'll hear me talk in our course all the time that you need to have multiple versions of a CV, because the version of the CV that you send to a hiring manager may well be quite different from the one that maybe you send to a recruiter like us at Ingenio. And there's a couple of different reasons for that. Okay, so I talk lots about when you're in the job application phase and stage. I talk lots about the shop window, and this is really, really important. Your CV is one of the most important constituent parts of the shop window. We're gonna dive into that in a little bit of detail. Okay. Um, the hiring manager, HR, recruiter piece, I'm going to touch on those. I'm going to touch on those sections. I'm going to touch on that specifically next week and the week after, just in terms of obviously what are the key sections of a CV, and then obviously the mistakes that you clearly don't want to be making. And then if you remember what I said in terms of our last session, I want that last session to all be around getting now the really good document into someone who is actually going to do something meaningful with it. But if I move on to you, an exercise. So let me take a quick step back. When we built the Ingenio Learning course, when we designed the course, one of the key exercises that we do, and I think it's in module, I think it's right at the very beginning, but I think it's module 3. One of the very first things that we go and do with every single candidate that we engage with from a recruitment perspective, or indeed from a learning perspective, is to get them to go and complete the Ingenio profile grid. So this is a piece of work that only you can do, okay? But it is so important that you get this piece of work done. And it's really interesting. You know, what I say is, like, there's a worksheet that we have that we've designed and built. I won't necessarily say that we've copyrighted or trademarked it just yet, but certainly it's a document and a worksheet that we have spent the last 6 years designing and refining. So typically what we do is we ask, when someone's trying to make a big decision or a career move or a change or a pivot or starting their career off for the very first time, we get them to complete the profile grid. And the profile grid is split into 4 sections: company, role, team, and package. And there are a set of instructions on the profile grid that basically, like, we will ask you a whole heap of questions around, let me give you a couple of examples of this. What type of organization do you want to work with? So I spoke to someone from a data analyst perspective last week, and this guy was applying very specifically to very large organizations, very specifically large banks and accounting businesses, and that was the kind of the makeup of his last 5 applications. And I said to him, okay, cool. So the types of business that you want to work with is very, very large, process orientated, huge employers. And he was like, no, I want to work with startups. And I said, okay, well, like, the last 5 applications that you've made have been a very particular type of organization, very large, big, huge employers. And clearly the disconnect, the absolute disconnect in terms of his CV versus what he actually wanted was massive. Okay, so if you think about it, what I'm trying to get you to do is what I'm trying to get people to go and do with the profile grid piece is get them to really tune in on the type of organization, the type of company that they will want to work with and for. And the reason that's so unbelievably important is the language that is used based on your own requirements, the language that is used that relates into your CV is just so incredibly important. So if you are writing a CV or a resume that was targeted on maybe working with small startup, scale-up organizations, the language that you would use around your role, your experience, your profile overview, your description, the types of attributes that you have, some of the interests that you have, the type of language that you would use in your CV and resume would be completely different from the stuff that you would use if you were trying to target a very large organization. Okay, so I really want to try and get you tuned in to that you need to do some really deep self-analysis and some self-interrogation before you go and complete your before you even start your CV. And the reason for that is that what you want and what you are and what you want to be, and you know, again, if you think about those sections, so the type of organization that you want to work for, um, and that could be right down to actually naming the individual organizations that you want to work for, the type of role that you want to do. So what is the job that you want to do, the type of team that you want to be involved in? You know, do you want to be involved in a very, very large process orientated structured team that has kind of junior, mid, senior people with managers? Do you want that level of structure in the type of role or organization that you want to be in? And then and then the last piece then is obviously is package. So this comes down to things like salary, benefits, you know, huge one right now is place of work, you know, location, things like pension, healthcare, stock, equity, whatever the case may be. So the Ingenio profile grid allows you to do and forces you to do a level of thinking about where you want to go. And then once you've got that done, that's the foundation. When you've got that done, then you can write a really strong CV that actually reflects and recognizes all of the key pieces that are important to you. And when that lands in front of someone and you end up interviewing, hopefully the story is really consistent, it resonates, and the intention is that it stands out as a CV that fits the type of organization that you want to go and work for, who are looking to hire someone like you. So that is the Ingenio profile grid, and absolutely, it's an absolutely integral part to a process around which we engage candidates. And I think, look, if you're not doing something like this, you need to be doing it. As I said, whole section on this, all on its own in the Ingenio Learning course. I'm going to just dive into the Q&A, folks. So again, I know there's been a number of questions that have come in already. So whatever questions you've got on any of the topics, I'm happy to go and take them. Just so you're really clear, the course that we've built is called Ingenio Learning, and obviously we've built and designed that for people who want to get hired by tech, SaaS and software organizations. For anyone who is tuned in today, we have built a one-time discount which equates to 65% off. It's exclusive to people that are attending the webinar or watching the recording, and there are places running up until this Friday. So that offer, that discount expires, as I said, at the end of this week. Really, really importantly, some of the stats and metrics that we're getting from our user base or our students, 90% of them are getting hired in 90 days within the tech and software space. So again, I hope that really what I want to try and get people thinking about is being outcome orientated off the back of taking this course. Come in, take the course, be really specific in all areas of your career, in all areas of your job hunt, your application, your profile, and then being very, very specific and really supercharged in terms of going out and executing and getting hired off the back of that. We also offer one-to-one sessions. So that's either with me or some of the guys in our recruitment team. And that is particularly useful for people who maybe have an interview upcoming and they want to go and do some real specific interview prep, coach prep, whatever the case may be, off the back of that. And that's something that you can find some details on Ingenio Learning.